Shalom. I give all glory and praise to the Most High God, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. My name is Saint Salem. Coming back at you with these precepts, sharpening iron with iron. Divide and spoil you among the flock. Today's lesson is going to be about the heathens and the other nations. The heathens and the other nations admitting to how strong and how glorified our God is, how strong the God of Israel is. Oftentimes, we see it in the scriptures. A heathen and an Israelite will be having a conversation. And the heathen will tell the Israelite, "Blessed be your Lord. Blessed be thy God, the God of Israel, because your God is stronger than our God." Or the heathen would say something to this effect. The Israelites are coming up against us. The God of Israel is coming up against us. We shall flee. And they will get out of there. Why is that? Because the heathens understood in the ancient world, and they understand now that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the God of the God of the heavens and earth. He has created everything for our sake. Okay, so we're gonna go through the scriptures and get an account, get a few accounts of the heathens acknowledging to the power of Israel and the God of Israel. Okay, so this is the book of Psalms, chapter 2 and verse 1. King David. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, "Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." So King David said, why are the heathen bugged out? Why do they be tripping out so hard? You know, in Chicago we say tweaking. Why y'all tweaking so hard, man? Because the heathen don't know no better, man. They don't have the knowledge of the Lord. They not on our level, especially the elect, let alone an idiot from the nation Israel. They don't even have the knowledge of the fool of Israel, let alone the knowledge of the kings, the prophets, Jeremiah and Solomon and those guys, man. The heathens can't get with that. They don't understand it. So they say, "Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. So the Lord, he looking at them like, man, y'all funny, man. You ain't gonna break anything, and you ain't gonna cast away anything of mine. I am the Lord, right? He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Meaning he gonna have them in confusion, man. They vex sorely every time they try us. Verse 5. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Right, so I wanted to get that to kick it off, to let you know that the heathens, they imagine vain things, right? They believe, they know that we are the salt of the earth. The scriptures say that Israel is the salt of the earth. The Persians knew it, the Egyptians knew it, the Philistines knew it, the Canaanites knew it, but they all still tried to take a jab at Israel. Why is that? Because they understood that they got it. The toughest opponent, they want to try to get them out of there faster. They set up counsel against us. They set up deceitful counsel against us to try to have us go off. Okay, so let me get the next account. Let's get this count in Exodus 1 and 9. I did this lesson earlier, but Satan didn't want to let the lesson come out. Many distractions. Uploaded the lesson. It was on mute. But we're going to get it through the Spirit of the Lord. This is Exodus chapter 1 and verse Exodus 1 and 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them. So we visitors in this land, but the land was filled with us. The land was filled with Israel. The land was filled with the Israelites in Egypt. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Right? That's my point in verse 9. When it says, he said unto his people, the Egyptian, the new Pharaoh, the new king told the Egyptians, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So that was the Pharaoh admitting that we stronger than the Israelites are stronger than the Egyptians. He just admitted it. And not only did they say that the people, they didn't just know that the people were stronger, they understood that the Lord was stronger. And we're going to get an account of that. We're going to get that account. And where's that? 1 Samuel. Let's get that account in 1 Samuel. So the Egyptians and let's see if it's more to that though. I don't want to skip. The Egyptians, they knew that the Israelites were stronger. Exodus 1 Exodus 1 and 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So that was something that they thought that they can get over on the Lord of Israel, man. They thought that they could get over on the people of Israel, and the Lord wasn't having it. Right? Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. But that's that on that. My point is that they understood that we had the potential to outdo them. That's the only point that I'm getting in this lesson. I'm going to get all the accounts where the heathens admitted and said, you know what? The God of Israel is just, the people of Israel is just too much for us. We can't do it. Let's get that account in 1 Samuel chapter 5. Not only did the people of these other nations know, but the gods of these other nations, they were idols. They couldn't stand up against our God. We're going to get that account in 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. Now, just a background for you brothers. Dagon is they worship Dagon in Mesopotamia. Now the Philistines are a tribe of Mizraim. They are an extension of the Egyptians. So they understand the power of Israel, just like the real Egyptians did. Only the Philistines just branched off and made their own little tribe, and they traveled a lot. You know, they see peoples. So they worshiping the god Dagon, and the king. They worshiping the god Dagon, and they're gonna bring the idol. They're gonna bring the Ark of the Covenant from the nation of Israel and sit it next to the idol. Let's see what happens. Verse 3. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord, and they took Dagon and set him in his place again. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon a threshold. So the first day they came and found their idol fallen, they picked it back up and tried to sit it next to the Ark of the Covenant again. The next day they came, and the idol was broken in pieces. So once again, it shows you the absurd nature of these nations. Because number one, they really believe in this idol, and number two, they trying to sit it up after it didn't fail already, and they gonna keep trying, right? So why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing, right? Because they don't have the wisdom of the Lord. He did not breathe wisdom into these people. That's what I'm displaying, and they tell you out of their own mouth that the God of Israel is stronger than Dagon, and the God of Israel is stronger than our God. Blessed be your God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You never hear the heathen say, blessed be our God, because we share the same God. No, they never say that, because they know God is only for Israel. So, verse 5, therefore neither the priests of Dagon nor any that come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon and Ashdod unto this day. So they're very fearful. They're very fearful about what the Ark of the Covenant did to their God. Verse 6. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod and the coast thereof. So the Lord started to vex. He started to vex the people of that land. He started to bring the same plagues on them as Egypt. Emerods, and he destroyed and smote them. Right? That could mean a lot of stuff. That could mean they got wiped out by natural disasters. He sent warriors over there to tear they shit apart. You know, a lot of stuff could have happened to them. But we know that he smote them with emerods. That's what we standing on. Verse 7. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of God of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand is so upon us and upon Dagon our God. They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them, and said, what shall we do with the ark of God of Israel? And they answered, let the ark of God of Israel be carried about unto Gath. And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about thither. So just to give y'all some background on some geography, Ashdod is on the coast, is on the far west coast of Canaan. And Gath is not that far away from Ashdod. So once again, the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing. We just saw that this idol get defeated 3 times. Once it was broken in pieces. And you don't want to get rid of the idol and stop worshiping the idol. You want to just take it to a different city. And not a different city of heathens. They're going to take it to a different city of the Philistines. That's stupid. The heathens are stupid. They have no knowledge. They have no wisdom. Verse 9, and it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great. And they had emerods in their secret parts. Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron. So they sent it to another city of the Philistines. And it came to pass, as the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, they have brought about the ark of God of Israel to us to slay us and our people. So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines, and said, send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people. For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. So, and the men that died not were smitten with the emerods, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. So, as we can see, man, we saw it in let's go back. Verse 7, they said, the ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us and upon Dagon. So the men of the Philistines acknowledged it, and their idol Dagon was forced to acknowledge it. You're not stronger than the God of Israel, right? The idol fell down and was torn to pieces. You got to send it to city. You got to keep moving it. Why is that? Because it's full of shit. The idol does not matter. It's vain, man. The heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing. You don't have wisdom, and the Lord is not with you. Right? And I'm not saying it. The heathen said it themselves. That's why I'm going to these accounts. Okay, so we got one from Egypt. We got one from a different tribe of the Egyptians, the Philistines. You know what? Let's go to Canaan. Right? Let's hear the Canaanites admit how much stronger we are of them. Let's go to Canaan. Let's go to Joshua 1 and Joshua 9 and 1. Joshua 9 and 1. And it came to pass, when all the kings which were on this side Jordan, in the hills and in the valleys, and in all the coast of the great sea over against Lebanon, the Hittite and the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite heard thereof. So these are all the Canaanites, the tribes of the Canaanites that the Lord told us not to deal with. Moses instructed us not to deal with these people in the Torah, in Deuteronomy 7. Verse 2, that they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, they did work willingly And we're going to go into that word, but I believe that word means like they did work willingly. That means like they tried to finesse. Because we're going to see in this account that the Canaanites, they not being really truthful about what they say. They lie us, they capping. You know, they know that the Israelites is coming to take the land. So this is the account where they're gonna try to finesse Joshua and the other Israelites. They're gonna try to lie and say that they come from a different country, right? When they Canaanites, they right from this land. So when verse 4 said that they did work willingly, we can go into the blue letter, but just off context clues, I understand what that means, right? They did work willingly and went and made as if they had been ambassadors. You see that? They trying to act like they are ambassadors from a different country, and took old sacks upon their asses and wine bottles, old and rent and bound up, and old shoes and clouded upon their feet, and old garments upon them, and all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. So they try to dress up real bummy and try to get old bread and try to act as if they had traveled from a far country to trick Joshua and his army into accepting them as foreigners instead of killing them as Canaanites. But we're gonna get it. So this is the heathen going through the lens, jumping through hoops, trying to avoid the Lord putting them to death. Verse 6, and they went to Joshua unto the camp at Gilgal, and said unto him, and to the men of Israel, we come from a far country. Now therefore make ye a league with us. And the men of Israel said unto the Hivite, Peradventure ye dwell among us, and how shall we make a league with you? And they said unto Joshua, we are thy servants. Right, so they not lying about this part. They really trying to get with the Israelites. They trying to finesse them out of that. They only lying about the part where they say they from a far country and we had good bread, but now our bread is old. Nigga, you ain't never had no good bread. You just, these motherfuckers capping, man. Verse 9, and they said unto him, from a very far country. He asked them, where you come from? They said, from a very far country, but these are Canaanites. This is Canaan. Thy servants are come because of the name of the Lord thy God. And that's the point. For we have heard the fame of him and all that he did in Egypt. Right? Let's highlight that. And they said unto him, from a very far country, thy servants are come because of the name of the Lord thy God. For we have heard the fame of him and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites that were beyond Jordan, to Sihon, king of Heshbon, and to Og, king of Bashan, which was at Ashtaroth. So the Lord was famous for catching bodies, man. The Lord was famous for putting nations down and bringing nations up. You understand? The Canaanites and the Philistines had heard all about what happened to Egypt, man. They heard about the Egyptians and what the Israelites left in their wake, man. They're like, oh no, we too fearful of this. We cannot stand before this God. We can't stand our idol up against this God. And we cannot allow these people in our country. That's what the Egyptians said. They stronger than us. We can't have these people here. The Philistines said, oh man, we can't put our idol next to they God, they Ark of the Covenant. The Canaanites, they capping. They trying to lie. They want to be with us so bad. They trying to lie and wear and put on dirty clothes and, eat dirty ass bread. Like, you guys are. Why do the heathen rage, man? And the people imagine a vain thing. Verse 11, wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, take victuals with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say unto them, we are your servants. Therefore now make ye a league with us. Verse 12, here you go line again. Verse 12, this our bread we took hot for our provision out of our houses on the day we came forth to go unto you. But now, behold, it is dry and moldy, and it is moldy. So he lying, man. They never had hot bread. They never had moldy bread. These guys are charlatans, man. So let's go to the account where Joshua will catch them in a lie. Right? In verse 22. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, Wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, We are very far from you, when ye dwell among us. He said, y'all lied and said y'all come from a far country, but you dwell among us, meaning you from this land. You are Canaan. You are a Canaanite. Why did you lie to me about that? Verse 23. Now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be freed from being bondmen and hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. So since you lied, we was gonna make you do that anyway. But since you lied, you ain't never gonna be free. You ain't never gonna not be a servant to us. You gonna be a hewer of wood, meaning you gonna be a carpenter. You gonna be cutting wood. You gonna be drawing out water. That's your job. You're a forever servant. And he said, you shall none of you be freed from being a bondman, meaning you're gonna be a servant forever now, since you want to lie. Verse 24. And they answered Joshua and said, Because it was certainly told thy servants, how that the Lord thy God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land. So they understood that Moses told them to destroy all of Canaan. So they lied, right? But the point was up ahead, where they acknowledged that we heard everything that y'all did to Egypt, and we afraid, man. They lied. They said we come from a far country. We've been eating old bread. Please don't kill us, because we heard what y'all did to Egypt. Okay, so that's how famous the Lord was in that time, man. And the nations know he still do that. So let's get another one. Let's get an account what the Persians. Let's go to Bel and the Dragon. Bel and the Dragon is really Daniel chapter 15. You have in Apocrypha, you have Susanna, the song of the three holy children, and you have Bel and the Dragon. That's Daniel 13, 14, and 15. I encourage all brothers to do research on the Apocrypha and know how those books came about. You have Masoretic texts, you have Greek Septuagint. You have to look up your old records, brothers. I encourage you to do it. So Bel and the Dragon is about Daniel, the prophet Daniel. He's in Persia with the king of Persia. His name is Cyrus, King Cyrus. And King Cyrus was a softer king, right? If you brothers don't know, y'all know the background. King Cyrus, he allowed a lot of the Jews to go back and build the temple again. They took over after the Babylonians, who ruled with an iron fist. The Babylonians were really rough. The Persians, the first king of the Persians, he ruled with a light. He ruled really light, you know. He was more worried about trying to get with Jewish women and shit, you know. But anyway, Bel and the Dragon, let's go. There's only one chapter. The point is in verse 41. But just to give a background, verse 2 says, And Daniel conversed with the king and was honored above all his friends. Now the Babylonians had an idol called Baal, and there were spent upon him every day 12 great measures of fine flour and 40 sheep and 6 vessels of wine. And the king worshipped it and went daily to adore it. But Daniel worshipped his own God. And the king said unto him, Why doest not thou worship Baal? Right, so they give the people of Persia and some of the Jews was going off. They going into this temple, and they giving this idol called Baal. They giving him food and flour and wine. And when they come back the next day, the food is gone. So they really believe that this idol is eating this food and drinking this wine, because the people, the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing. So he asked Daniel, Why do you not worship the god Baal? In verse 5, he says, Who answered and said, Because I may not worship idols made with hands, but the living God, who have created the heaven and the earth, and have sovereignty over all flesh. Right, so that's Daniel's stance. Daniel stood on his 10 toes. He stood 10 toes down. He said, Look, I ain't worshiping no idols. You can't convince me that this statue is eating food, because I'm not gullible like that. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, right? So I'm going to go to the point in verse 41. So long story short, Daniel He exposed the idol, and he exposed the other idol, the dragon. He exposed Baal and the dragon. So they threw him in a lion's den, as you brothers know. They threw Daniel in a lion's den, and when they opened the den, he was still there, and he had not been, the Lord had preserved him. So verse 41, then cried the king with a loud voice. The king of Persia came in and saw him in a lion's den, and this is his reaction. Then cried the king with a loud voice, saying, Great art, Lord God of Daniel, and there is none other beside thee. And he drew him out and cast those that were the cause of his destruction into the den. So not only did the king of Persia, he praised the Lord God of Israel, and then he started throwing other Persians into the lion's den because they tried to get Daniel. They tried to throw Daniel in there, right? So he said, and they were devoured in a moment before his face. So Daniel was preserved by the Lord, and the Persians that was thrown in the den was not preserved. They were not preserved. But the point is, when the king cried with a loud voice, saying, Great art, Lord God of Daniel, and there is none other beside thee. Right? So the king of Persia, he acknowledged the greatness of the Lord after he was dismayed, man. He was dismayed, and after he saw that, he had nothing else to say. So we got the Egyptians, we got the Philistines, we got the Canaanites saying it, the Persians saying it. Right? Now let's get the account where Cush was forced to acknowledge it. The Babylonians, the Cushites, the Ethiopians, right? Queen Sheba. Let's go to 2 Chronicles 9. 2 Chronicles 9 and 4. Oh, okay. And when the queen, verse 1, and when 2 Chronicles 9 and 1, and when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, she came to prove Solomon with hard questions in Jerusalem, with a very great company, and camels that bear spices and gold in abundance and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. So that's the background story of it. I'm going to get to the point. It's verse 5. Right, so the queen of Ethiopia, she came to visit Jerusalem, and she saw the riches that King Solomon had. She talked with him for a minute and understood his wisdom. Well, I won't say she understood his wisdom, but she acknowledged his wisdom. She acknowledged the wisdom of Solomon, and she said he's smarter than all of the coast. Verse 5, 2 Chronicles 9 and 5. And she said to the king, it was a true report which I heard in mine own land of thine acts and of thine wisdom. She said it was true what they said about you. What they were saying about you back in Ethiopia, it was true. Verse 6, howbeit I believed not their words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it. And behold, the one half of the greatness of thy wisdom was not told me, for thou exceedest the fame that I heard. So not only was they were telling the truth about your wisdom, but it's more than what they said. You smarter than what they thought. Verse 7, happy are thy men, and happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee and hear thy wisdom. She said, wow, the people who work for you are in great joy. And think this Ethiopia, she from Ethiopia. She probably got servants who want to kill her. She got servants who want to have sex with her. All kind of stuff, all kind of chaos and wickedness going on. She come over here to Jerusalem, and we got everything in order. Solomon got servants. They smile and they working for him proudly. People happy to get up to work for Solomon because he got wisdom, man. The Bible say when your ways please the Lord, even your enemies will be at peace with you. So his enemies coming all the way from a far country to bless him and give him praise, man. All right. So she said, happy are thy men, and happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee and hear thy wisdom. Verse 8. Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee to set thee on his throne to be king for the Lord thy God. Right? Queen Sheba just blessed the Lord thy God, because thy God loved Israel to establish them forever. Therefore made he thee king over them to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold and of spices in great abundance. She started showering him with gifts. But the point is verse 8. She acknowledged it. She acknowledged in verse 5 too. She acknowledged what the Lord had done for Israel and what the Lord had done for Solomon. And she knew that it was the God of Israel and not right. If she could have said, "Oh, the God of Ethiopia have blessed you with," and Solomon would have had to check her when she said that. But she came with a right spirit, man. And Solomon, he had everything in order, and he reigned during a time of peace. So when she saw that, she marveled. Right, so that's about 5 accounts of the heathens acknowledging the power of Israel and the power of the God of Israel. I want to get Ezekiel. I'm going to get Ezekiel 39 now. Ezekiel 39 and 23. And the heathen shall know. Let's go. Highlight that. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword, according to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face. Verse 22. So the house of Israel shall know that I am the Lord their God from that day and forward. So in verse 23, he says that he used their enemies. He used the Israelites' enemies to punish them. Therefore I hid my face from them and gave them into the hand of their enemies. Right? The Lord delivers the Israelites time and time again into their enemies when they sin against him and go off willingly. So yeah, that's the prophet Ezekiel saying that the heathen understood that, the heathen understood that, because when Nebuchadnezzar was risen up, he knew that the Lord had rose him up, not his God. And same thing for Greece, same thing for Rome. The Lord raised these nations up to judge Israel, man, not to be nice to them. Leviticus 18. Let's go to Leviticus 18 24. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things. For in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. And the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it. And the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. So this is talking about idols. Hold on. Right. This is Leviticus 18. It's going into all the uncleanness. It's going into all the uncleanness. So, and the land is defiled, therefore do I visit the iniquity thereof upon it. And the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. Oh, okay, that's why I got this. Right? Because this is go tie into Dagon, the idol, right? When he said, defile not ye yourselves in any of these things. For in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. Not only idols, but all this sexual wickedness that Egypt was getting to, that Moses is referring to. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind as abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast, right? There was a lot of that going on in those nations that we were in. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. So I wanted to do this lesson for brothers who believe that we are inferior to other races. I wanted to do this lesson for brothers who probably don't really read scripture that much, but they know that they Israel, and you gotta have a certain clue, man. You gotta understand history. You gotta understand that the heathens, they knew of our power, so you should know of your own power. That's why I did this lesson for brothers, man. And once we understand that even heathens know that we stronger than we get our own confidence. There ain't nothing like having the strength and not knowing that you have it. Your enemies know that you have it, so you should utilize it. And with that, I'm going to yield. Call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, Barakatah, Shalom.